We'll do a review in the Sichas in volume 23, Chelek Gimel. And this is the first Sicha of the Parsha Shelach. And the Rebbe asks over here some basic questions. Why did Hashem leave it up to Moshe, Shelach L'cha, and didn't tell Moshe to send? It must be that Moshe Rabbeinu sent it. He was a trusted servant of Hashem. For sure, he did it according to the kavanah. And why did Hashem not send him to do it? How is it that the Meraglim made such a terrible mistake? As Rashi says, they were actually righteous people. The Rebbe is going to go through explaining that this whole idea is that it also needed to be logical. While we say Nasim and Nishma, means that there should be a sense of just Kabbalah soil, but then has to come the Nishma understanding. The Eibishter wanted that this should be also understood in the logic of the Yidden, that they should want to go there because it is a beautiful place, and that's why Hashem actually also told him to bring the fruit, even though that involved a risk of being discovered as spies, schlepping all those fruit, but yet he wanted, there was a necessary component because this needed to be on their own. This was why Eibishter wanted also the shlichus should come from Moshe, from himself. But there is a room for mistake. That's why they made a mistake, because it was logical. So logical, actually, they thought that they came back with the correct analysis of the situation and they reported it. But the mistake was, they say, we won't be able to go up. That wasn't what they were asked to do. They were, their mission was just to find out what is the easier way. And the Rebbe says this is a hira in generally that we use our seichel, which we have to use in various situations, and we have to make sure that it has to be anchored in the knowledge that this is something which is not a question whether. Of course we will, but we use the logic to figure out the way, the easiest and best way that also logically we should be able to reach it. Let's look inside. Shelach. Aleph. On the verse, send people for you. So Chazal, so our sages of blessed memory say that Shelach L'cha means send for you, means L'daitcha. Send according to your understanding. Basically, which it means, as der Shiluach HaMeraglim is given, Obheinig in Daito Shal Moshe, the sending of these scouts, the Meraglim, the spies, was dependent on Moshe Rabbeinu's decision, Moshe Rabbeinu's mind, what he decided. Oberani Eini Mitzvah Oischa, Hashem says, I am not instructing you. You do as you see fit. Shlach L'cha. Darf verstehen, so we need to understand. Moshe Rabbeinu is doch gewähnt an Eved Nemer von Obersten. Moshe was a trusted servant of Hashem. Is der fun verstandig? So from this we understand, Ados was daite shel Moshe is given to Shikun di Meraglim. So why was Moshe's mind, why in his opinion was to send the spies? He says the far Musazoy is given daite shel Adoinah. That must have been the view and the opinion, the mind of his master, the Meibishter. That was his master. Hashem wanted. When the pasuk is made, as the pasuk itself testifies, the pasuk says, "Vayishlach oiso Moshe gomer al pi Hashem." He sent them by the mouth of Hashem. So Rashi says, "B'rishusay shel Hakadosh Baruch Hu," with the permission of Hashem. Hastes. So that means, as the linyan fun shiluach hameraglim mitzad atzmei, the idea of sending the spies and of its own is a dover toiv v'rotzu. That's something which is good and it is desirable that we should send the meraglim. This was a good move. The Ramban is Mavayr. The Ramban explains as the derech harogil from Einem and Alam, that the common way of conquering a land, the way it's done, is by finding out the best way is durch Shikun Frier Meraglim, is to first send scouts. So finden, was es ist der beste und geringste Weg, what is the best and easiest way, Lichbeish es Sa'oret, to conquer the land. Since we do not rely on a miracle, one needs to prepare for war in a natural way. Moshe Rabbeinu agreed to send the spies is because that's the normal, usual way. When you go to conquer a land, you have to find out what would be the easiest and the best way to conquer. So that's what Moshe did. Is nicht verstandig, so it's not understood. Was hat der Eibishter das Teile given in Daite Shel Moshe? So how come Hashem depended this on? He hinged it on Moshe's opinion. Und nicht allein milachatchila gesagt them, and he did not, to begin with, instruct that he should do so. Why did Hashem actually leave it up to Moshe Rabbeinu? If this is something positive, and as the Ramban explained, that's the way it's done, and that's looks like the right thing to do. So why would Hashem not command? Further, we need to understand the Negei the Meraglim Zokt Rashi, as it relates to the scouts. Rashi says the spies that Oiso Shol Keshenim Hoyu. At that time, when Moshe Rabbeinu chose them, they were kosher, they were fit. This is actually understood also with the simple logic. If Moshe, our teacher, he himself chose them, not were they just generally fit, nor die am besten zugepasste für der dosige Striche. They must have been the best fitting people for this particular mission, this shlichus. They were the best people. Is wie kommt es? So how does it happen, as by Zeis geworden azag größer shinui, that by them there was such a big change, min hakotzer from one extreme to the other extreme. As nit nor haben sie die Shlichus nit durchgeführt kideboy. Not only had they not properly fulfilled this mission, nor sie haben durch them gebracht, but they brought for the Yidden through their mission. This is a crying for the generations to come, which means that the Gemara says in Tainus, that's why Tisha B'Av came about as a result. Started off with the sin of the Meraglim. So this ended up being a disaster. How come that people that were chosen by Moshe Rabbeinu switched from one extreme to the other extreme? Base. So the Rebbe says we'll understand it by seeing what Moshe Rabbeinu sent them to do. So one thing, he actually sent them to find out what's the easier way to conquer it, but he also told them to figure out, show what kind of a fruit, what kind of a land, try to make a sale for the land of Eretz Yisrael, that it's good. Why was that necessary? The second part seemed to endanger them. but it is important. This is the key to the answer that Moshe Rabbeinu wanted that also logically they should comprehend and appreciate and say, we want to go to the land of Eretz Yisrael because it has so much to offer, even on the physical level base. But when those verstehen behagdim, Abir, by first, we'll understand this by first explaining, introducing the explanation in them was man gefindt, in this that we find as the shlichus is bechlolus bashtanen from zwei unionen. The mission, generally speaking, consisted of two aspects. Number one, aleph, to ausgefinden die protim, to find out the details, welche seinen negeya zu dem kibush oris, which are important. They are connected how to the conquering of the land. As the pasuk says, Zuri Isam, you shall see Gomer. A chazak, is it a strong people? Gomer Hamat, is it a few people? Abemachanim, are they sitting in fortified camps, etc.? So that is one thing as it relates to how are they able to conquer. Number two, based so is given the protim to find out the details, wegen dem land, wegen der land about the land itself. A toiva is good, goimer hashmene is a fat land, goimer. Und ad kidei kach is given negeya oder zweiter till. To such an extent, it was important. That second part, von seiner Schlichus, from their mission, as Moshe hat sie angesagt, Moshe instructed them, chazak, that you should strengthen yourselves, and you shall take from the fruit of the land. And this was so important, although as durch mitnehmen mit Oretz, when they are taking along from the fruit of the land, stellen sie sich ein in Sakona. They are placing themselves in danger. As men that kennen der kennen, as is eine meraglim, people will able to tell that they are spies. And yet, sollen sie von deswegen sich stärken, and yet he instructs them, Moshe instructs them that they should strengthen themselves. Und anstrengen und bringen mit Prioritz and to strengthen themselves and bring from the fruit of the land. Is not glatik, so this is not so smooth, this whole idea. As a let it be true, actually, that seeing it is much more powerful to hearing. There's no comparison seeing something to just hearing about it. And the river, and that's why, nicht gucken, notwithstanding was that Eberster had shown der Zelt in that Hashem had already related to the Yidden as Eretz Yisrael is, that the land of Israel is an Eretz Toiva Rechova, it's a good and wide land. Eretz Zovas Cholav Udvosh, it's a land that flows milk and honey. Und Eden seinen doch Maminim b'nei Maminim, and the Yidden are believers, son of believers, as we see in the Chumash that Hashem said to Moshe that they will believe them, they're Maminim b'nei Maminim. Ubefrat as medartet bei nit onkumen to Amunah, especially that for this it isn't necessary to have Amunah, you don't need belief or Mzicher, because for sure, haben Hadorim in Mitzrayim gewusst, those who lived in Egypt knew was to Eretz Yisrael, what is going on in Eretz Yisrael. So, notwithstanding that, we understand that it is not the same thing. Kumtes aber nicht zu Rias Peiros Oris. It does not reach the same level of actually seeing the fruit of the land. Was wo Kedem given by Eden Asimcha Yisera, this would cause by the Yidden an additional happiness, to go up there with joy. But yet, from deswegen, so we understand what the purpose of this would be and how this would help But yet, then is das so nötig? Is then this so important? Bis zu einstellen über them, the levels from the Meraglim, to the extent that you have to put the life of the scouts, of the Meraglim, the spouse, in danger? Is that their lives to put themselves in danger? Why is that so important? Gimel. So the Rebbe explains because we also need the Venishma, that it should also make sense logical. That's an important component as well. Gimel, einer von the Biurim in them, one of the explanation in this. Agam as the Yisoid Kiyum HaTorah is Agdomas Nasa L'Nishma, although that the basis for fulfilling the Torah is first we'll do the acceptance, and then we will hear. Afal Pikain still is Nasa Leinit Maspik. Just say that we will do, that isn't sufficient. That's why they didn't have to say Nasa Benishma, but they had to say first Nasa. But Nasa alone isn't sufficient. There needs to be, after you said you will do also Benishma, we will listen, which means Meloshan Havone. We'll hear, meaning we'll understand. Kemoi, as we say, Dabir, speak Kishameya Abdecha. Speak because your servant is listening. It doesn't mean that you just hearing, but it means that you're understanding. Speak so because I paying attention. So there needs to be even nishma to logically understand. When I use this is also as it relates to entering the land of Eretz Yisrael. The Rebbe attacking gesagt Eden, Hashem actually did say to the Eden, that it's a good and wide land. Aber the Eberster revealed, but Hashem wants as Eden soll einsenden dem Guts von Eretz Yisrael euch besichlam heim, that the Yidden should realize the good of Eretz Yisrael also in their own intellect. Der Riber hat Moshe Rabbeinu geheißen bringen mipri ha'oretz. And therefore, Moshe Rabbeinu instructed to bring from the fruit of the land, kidei, as the rotzen von Eden to gain Eretz Yisrael, in order that this desire of the Yidden to go to Eretz Yisrael soll sein, that it should be neat, nor not just because this is what Hashem instructed. Therefore, they are obeying the command of Hashem. Nasa we will do, but also from them themselves. They verstehen as medar velun gain Eretz Yisrael. They understand that what we want to go to Eretz Yisrael. Is the emissary Eretz Toiv, because that's the real good and wide one. Und dieselbe Sach is Benegaya, dem ersten Teil von Zeir Shlichus. Same thing is in the first part of the mission to find out how to conquer. So Eisgifinen in welchem Weg soll Käufer sein Eretz Yisrael, to find out in which way to conquer Eretz Yisrael. As the Kavona dabei is given, that the intent over here was, as Eden Zom Einzen Besichlam, that the Jews should realize in their minds, the Yochel Nuchalo, that we will be able to conquer logically. Und das ist euch der Tam, and this is also the reason for was der Eberster hat nicht angesagt, why Hashem did not instruct auf Shiluach HaMeraglim to send the scouts, to send the spies, nor Shlach L'chol L'daitcho. He says, send for you your decision. Ayois as der Mekuvan von Shiluach HaMeraglim, since the intent of sending the Meraglim is to oifton by Eden dem Nishma, is to accomplish by the Yidden, that also the realization, knowing, understanding, the Negeya, the Knisa La'aretz, as it relates to going into the land, is the Riber Oich der Shiluach Gufe gekommen. Therefore, also the way it was sending itself came in an Eifel for the Daitcha, it came in a way that you made the decision. As mentutes, that why are we doing this? Valazoi darv sein bitzad das. This is the way it needs to be done from the perspective, from the intelligence. That's the uh, right thing to do logically. Not just we do it because I'm telling you. Just do it because this was the intent. That's why it started off in a way that this should come through from them and their realization. Tala. Damit that when ich verstehen, this will also understand the Azoid Meraglin was which at that time they were kosher, haben gekannt, Azoid durchfallen. How could they fail so bad, bis zu sagen, that we can't go up? Bald as the Inyan Hashlichus is given the Nishma. So now we understand how they can fail so miserably. Because the Shlichus was their Nishma, was the logic to forcing the Zach from to investigate this matter of entering the land logically according to Seichel. So that's why it was able to bring about that mistake in their judgment. Warum alles, was die Meraglim haben gesagt wegen Eretz Yisrael war Yeshvim, because in the end of the day, everything that the Meraglim said about Eretz Yisrael and those who inhabit it, those who live there, Az Ha'am, Begami Lidanov, they're powerful people, and also children of the giants, is doch gewen emes. That was true. Und euch sehr maskone, and also what they concluded as leinuchalalis, that we are not able to go up there, up the Teva, Kamenit, Koiverstein, Eretz Yisrael, that according to nature we cannot conquer Eretz Yisrael. Hotanort in Seichel. Their conclusion has room, makes sense logically. It turns out, as the Meraglim Hobum the Daitum, turns out the Meraglim, in their view, they fulfilled that mission which they were sent on. Their Torah is Bashtana. So what was their mistake? What did their mistake consist of? In them was the fact that they added a conclusion like Nuchalalis, we won't be able to go up. Moshe Rabbeinu had by Zeh milchatchila nit gefragt. Moshe Rabbeinu, to begin with, did not ask them, "Si men ken einem in Eretz Yisrael oder nit," whether we can conquer Eretz Yisrael or not. That wasn't his question. Eretz Blois geschickt zu Isgefinen, he only sent them to find out the Azoi is leichter hier zu koiver sein, which way it is easier to conquer. And the contrary, from them, Gufa was Moshe. The fact that Moshe sent them to scout the land, to investigate how to conquer Eretz Yisrael, is given that is evidence of proof. As Yochel Nuchal Lo that we will definitely be able to do it also in nature. That they knew that also naturally can do it. Because if we're going to say that entering the land is miraculous, so why do we don't need to send spies? Has no room for sending spies. So they're sending these scouts, the spies, because it needs to be in a natural way. So Moshe Rabbeinu believed that in a natural way we could do it. And Moshe Rabbeinu didn't ask them for any conclusions. They came up with a conclusion. So it turns out when they said we cannot go up, is nit nor ahisofa of the shlichus. It's not adding a new part to the shlichus they weren't sent to conclude. So they added something that they weren't sent. This is the opposite. This goes contrary with their mission went. The mission went to figure out how we can go up to Eretz Yisrael, and they came and said that we cannot go up to Eretz Yisrael. In Ois Hey, the Rebbe continues to learn the lesson that even when we have to do things according to Seichel, you still got to know that you are a Shaliach from Moshe Rabbeinu, and therefore that will help you not to deviate. Hey, Torah is Meloshen Hera. Torah comes from the Meloshen of a lesson. Is der Fund verstandig? So from this we understand, as in Torah, is euch voran the Anweisung, that in Torah there is also the instruction, wie sich zu bewahren von Tos am how one should protect himself from making the same mistake as the Meraglim did. What is the Eitz? What is the advice? The Shem HaSedre, like Minhag Yisrael, the name of the Sedre, according to the Jewish tradition, is Shelach, Meloshen Shlichus. Send, that means in the language of Ashlichus. Being a Shaliach, a Yid dar wissen, a Yid needs to know, as euch wenn vernimmt sich mit der Avodah von Nishma, that even when he occupies himself with the service of listening, understanding, verstehen this, understanding it in his mind, according to your understanding, dafür geseder gedenken, you need to constantly remember as tutus als a shliach von Moshe, that you're doing it as an agent of Moshe. Nicht weil ihm will sich verstehen die Sache. It's not because you wish to understand this matter, nor weil so is the Rotzen Ha'elyon. That is the wishes of the Supreme that you should understand, but not your own understanding. Damut is membavorent, and then you are protected. Nicht nur mit dem Nase, not only with the doing, the accepting, but also with the understanding. Thus, versichert, this guarantees at the seichel v'zayin seichel amiti, that this idea, this intellect, will be a true seichel, and come to the maskone amitis, and will bring you and come to the true conclusion. The zach von seichel is, the idea of the intellect is to with their muskel is la mitose, is to find out how the idea it truly is in its truth. And darf mevatel sein alle eigenen netiyes v'chulu. One needs to negate all his personal leanings, sich zutragen zu der Sach, was man will verstehen, and to put yourself to the item that you are attempting to understand. If a person at the time when somebody is doing an idea intellectually, because of his own taste, own enjoyment, it's possible as that it should mix in one's own leanings, etc. These are proven zupassen to the extent it might want to try to fit in the mitzias to sein Deya, the facts to his opinion. He'll try to change the facts so it fits what he wants in his mind. But this is einer von der Biyurim in Inyan HaShocher. This is one of the explanation with the matter of bribery. The Torah says about bribe, as HaShocher Ya'aver Einei Chacham. That when you bribe, it blinds the eyes of the wise, and it mixes up the words of the righteous. The here seem bald as Torah's emes is my Torah. The true Torah testifies and says as retzich wegen chacham tzaddikim that we're dealing here about wise and righteous. So that means that they are truly smart, truly wise, and they're truly righteous. And we come to, so how does it come as a zolim that they should go ahead and take bribes? How would they even take bribes in the first place? Nor about the Indian Hashechan, but the idea of bribery is not nervous menem gelten. Okay, so it's not just like if you take money or similar. Und the Fahrer wird man sagen an offenem sheker, and then you're going to say an open lie. You're going to just lie because you took a bribe. Nor was man tracht nicht, but the bribe means that you're not thinking wegen der Metzies wie sie is about the condition, the facts, the way it is, nor man tracht wegen sich, but rather you're thinking about yourself. Und der eigener Metzies and your own being. Was damit kann man nicht haben kein Avona Amitis, then you cannot have a true understanding in the muscle, in the idea of as it is truthful. You're being blinded, you're being bribed by your own entity, by your own leanings, and therefore you may not look at the idea as it's truthful to get the idea, but you're being bribed by yourself, and you're going to lean, and it's going to change your mind to try to fit in the facts that it fits what your idea is. Das ist given the Sibah. This was the cause from the Tos and the Fila from the Meraglim, from the mistake and the fall, the failure of the Meraglim. Bazei had gefällt in them bittel zu Moshe Rabbeinu. They were lacking in their subjugation to Moshe, our teacher, in an oifun, to the extent, in a way, they were lacking that as dozol der herd werden, that should be sensed. Also, when they are occupied with a matter of understanding, losur to go and inspect the land, they did not have that level of bittul to Moshe Rabbeinu. And since they felt their own entity, their own existence, their riber, and therefore Hodiriyas and the feeling b'nei ha'anok, when they saw these giants, the son of the giants, the Nephilim, that threw on them a fear. We were in our eyes like grasshoppers. Das is given an inyan fun shoichad. That was a idea of bribe. That bent their logic bis to them zogen lenuchalalis, to the extent that they said that we can't go up. B'shas aber megedenkt amiza shliach. When you remember that you're a shliach, which is shlach, the parsha shlach, the shlucha shel odom k'moisei. A shluach, a shliach, a person is like him. A shliach hot nit ken egenen metzias. He doesn't have his own entity, his own existence. Nor sein ganze metzias is the metzias hamishaler. His entire being is the being of the sender. Und in the Rev Gufa, and who is in itself that you're the sender, who in this itself is men shlucha shel Moshe, you become the agent of Moshe. Because Moshe Rabbeinu is midas ha'emes. Moshe Rabbeinu is the measure of truth, and the light zugebunden zu Moshe Rabbeinu midas ha'emes. You remain tied to Moshe Rabbeinu, the measure of truth. Man tritt von ihm nicht up, and you don't step away from Moshe, from the truth. Man tracht die ganze Zeit. You're thinking the entire time, nicht wegen sich, not about yourself, nor as man geht Moshe Rabbeinu's shlichus, but rather that you are going in a mission of Moshe Rabbeinu. Devil wird man nicht meshuchat, then you don't become bribed, and therefore führt man euch die shlichus, then you accomplish the mission, the shlichus from Mosur as Oretz to inspect the land was further a seichel v'havona mitis v'shleim, which requires a idea, an intellect, and a true understanding, a wholesome one. Good is the land that Father God gives to us. Does bring der noch, and this brings later on the kibush oretz ligibulei, conquering the land to all of its boundaries, beasts and kiyum hayir, till the fulfillment of the promise as Yarchim Hashem Elokecha Zchvulcha, God will widen your territory. Is Mashiach Tzidkenu, with the coming of the righteous Mashiach, Mamish, quickly in our days. Mamish. This is Mesichas Shabbos Parshas Shelach, Tavshin Lamed Gimel.